Hey guys, it's Robbie K here, coming back at you with yet another Robbie's Movie Reviews. And tonight, we take a look at none other than the wildly popular, very mass media Nutcracker, based essentially on the play, ballet, and story, The Nutcracker and the Mouse King, or The Nutcracker. You know, the artistic ballet that's famous for its music, dance, and of course, dress up. Disney's taken the reins and is hopefully going to bring the world to life, but we don't know what's in store because a trailer can tell you anything. And as always, my friend Mary and I have gone into the trenches to figure out just what's what with this movie. What's he got in store for you? Well, stick around and you'll essentially get our full-on review. But for those who are new to the channel, let's kind of explain how it goes. Number one, we go over what the trailer kind of made it look like to be. Number two, we then kind of give you the quick and dirty review for those looking for a quick kind of check-in. And then number three is for those who like a little more detail, stick around for that one. As always, appreciate the likes. Let's get going. As we mentioned earlier, based on the famous ballet musical, you've essentially got The Nutcracker in the Four Realms. Is a little bit of a fantasy play off of the already classical piece, in which a young girl named Clara, during a party, somehow winds up in the world of the Four Realms that apparently is linked to her deceased mother. Amidst it is a chaos of war between one realm versus three, with only Clara being the one to solve it. What lies in store? Well, that's kind of what you have to go see the movie for. But nevertheless, that's kind of the premise of it. Now, in regards to it, what is the verdict? Overall, and for the Phase 1 review, the truth is that the Nutcracker in the Four Realms delivers on bringing the world to life. It is a dead-on approach for the target audience of probably young girls around 5 to 6 to maybe right around the 12 to 13 year range. It's beautiful, it's artistic, and my gosh, is the world gorgeous. But effectively, with the costumes bringing everything to life, you're just getting that magical Disney special effects you love to see in their movies. Now, if that is not enough to essentially warrant a visit, you know, it's definitely going down the princess movement as well, and kind of sticking into the girl power themes, with a couple of story morals lined in there to kind of help give you a little bit of a story twist to it. But outside of that, that's where the movie starts to fail. For I think, given all the special effects and big focus on bringing the world to life, the story itself kind of took a hit at times. So definitely not awful, definitely not the worst that I've seen, but it definitely has some work to do in regards to helping bring that story to full effect and full life that I think Disney is more famous for, but maybe the studio didn't quite get the focus. More in the detail section of it, but it didn't quite have all the story-driven effects that I think the studio was going for, at least that I was going for being an audience member. That's essentially it. What can we give it in terms of its scores before we get into to the detail? Well, simple. I would say in terms of its movie of maybe fantasy, musical, adventure, and a family, probably maybe a 7.5. And that's not, and if we, just brought in the makeup alone, the makeup and world building would probably be about a 9. In regards to the movie overall, I'm going to probably give it maybe a 6, just because it's missing a lot of what I know Disney is capable of. But, if you really want to hear a little more about the details, let's get kind of going into the second part of it. But for those who are ready to leave us for the quick and dirty, thank you very much for joining us. And as always, more reviews to come. Please like, share, and tell me how to improve, and I'll be happy to do my best to make it happen. Now, in regards to those sticking around for the details, let's get to kind of the likes first over the dislikes. When it comes to the Nutcracker and the Four Realms, the biggest thing that you've heard me say, and I guess I'm going to lead with this, is that the makeup, the costumes, and the world building are gorgeous. The first opening, probably 20 minutes, is a grand display of kind of classic London literature of characters of high society having this elaborate party setting to get us to where we want to be. The story is is rushed into, but once you get into kind of the festivities themselves, the world of wonder is gradually introduced until finally you get into the Four Realms. And much like the effects we saw with Narnia Studios, it's a gorgeous display of artistic creativity in terms of just about everything you can think of. Seeing the world building is gorgeous. Seeing all the either natural sights or artificial settings come to life is brilliant. And as my friend Mary appreciated, the characters were very, very creative in terms of kind of catching that whimsy fantasy nature, but having a tweak of adultness into it to allow older parents to really admire some of the amazing stuff that their department did. Sugar Plum Fairy was my particular favorite costume. A gorgeous display of kind of the whim and whimsy that she's famous for. And when she brought those wings out, it's definitely going to be a popular cosplay item as well as a popular Halloween costume probably next year. Now, in regards to kind of everything else in that regards, it's a beautiful just crafting of characters, and even the simplistic soldier outfits have a little pizzazz to them and are very good quality display. You throw in kind of some of the computer CGI animation when it comes to the mice, and again, it shows why Disney's are kind of the kings of animation and design and why their parks go bananas when it comes to a new display, because they do their homework, they do their details, and they rock it. Now, if you're looking kind of to where the next thing goes in, because the Nutcracker is a ballet, you're probably looking for a little bit of the classical style. And while definitely not the soul and theme of the movie, I gotta give them props at the dance numbers that they made for this movie, particularly the ballet tribute itself, is another fine cinematic piece to show that ballet people rock in terms of their strength, discipline, and artistic flow, and as well as kind of showing the abstract modern dance approach to telling a story without little words. Again, it captures the essence of, I would say, the traditional story of the play, not the original screenplay, which, as you saw from Bad Moms Christmas, is 5.5 hours and brutally dark. This one, the ballet styles, kind of stuck to those, what I think a lot of ballerinas aspire to copy when they're doing their work. But nevertheless, when you get kind of past that, it's balanced into the movie, not fully into it. So, a good shout out to that. The acting wise, when we got the characters into it, I gotta say Clara was probably the best actress. The young Renesmee has blossomed very much in her acting ability since she was a CGI baby. So, definitely having fun in regards to kind of seeing her skills improve. Claire was definitely a nice character for her to kind of spread her wings in, and they did a lot with it, so kudos on that. I guess that brings me to kind of the next thing, is that the target audience is going to really get attached to this. Mary and I both agreed that when you look at this, the demographic we said earlier is going to just fall in love with not only costumes, but young girls are going to love kind of building on the Clara. She is definitely a modern example of what a lot of Disney and characters are going, and other movies are going for. A very strong, creative, independent woman looking to solve problems. That's definitely going down the girl power movement of Disney. So if you're against kind of the feminism approach of that, and against the strong female leads, you're probably not going to like the beating over the head preachiness that comes with it. But for the main audience, they're going to love it. Because, again, it's a well-developed character there. That's about all the likes I can say about it, other than maybe it's about an hour and 40 minutes, so a small like of pacing, keeping up with it. Now let's get to the dislikes. Well, even though the visual prowess of this movie is gorgeous beyond belief, and another example, again, of Disney's studio power, it is still lacking in some other areas that was unfortunately a shame to see them miss the ball on. First of all, the story itself. It's there. The fragmented pieces are there. And to tell you the truth, for the key demographic, because they're going to be so caught up on the kind of superficial stuff and the impressive displays, the story's just going to get lost to them and they really aren't going to care. But if you're like me and you're looking for more of a story outside of Clara's kind of inventory power to her role, you're going to be disappointed. It is bare minimum in terms of what they were trying to give you. And I guess the next dislike is they didn't utilize a lot of their characters. After all this work of makeup, after a semi-elaborate introduction to everything, most of the characters are actually put on the back burner. And it doesn't make sense to me. There was so much storytelling that could have been done. And I guess based on, if you look at the source material, we could have been there for 5 hours if we were going that realm. But unfortunately, the Four Realms probably needed, ironically, about another half an hour to really tell the story I think they were going for. Or at least a little bit better dialogue moments so we could actually learn about what was going on and what happened to the characters and just giving some backstory, because otherwise many of these characters are just living, breathing props to show that makeup artists rock, and that's about all that they were being used for, which is such a shame. In addition, while the mice were adorable and very, very cute, especially the Mouse King himself, I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit disappointed in terms of the cop-out of it. After all these incredible costumes, makeup displays, you probably would have thought that they would have gone that realm. And even if it's CGI, again, I really don't care, because CGI is kind of the wave of the future, and it works. But to really just do a mock carbon copy design from your Mice of Cinderella, that's being a little lazy in my opinion. Again, maybe they were meeting a deadline, maybe that's just the direction they wanted to go. I like the utilization of the mice. I guess that would be a like, is that there's some clever and some humor embedded into them. And while it's cute and adorable, it just doesn't live up to the rest of the makeup department. And again, another example of underutilization. In terms of kind of, and kind of some of the other stuff, again, even though there was this great, fantastic display, they took some shortcuts and they didn't maximize the potential of all these worlds to which they had built. And in fact, kind of just stuck to a very small setting for them to act out most of the realms. It's predictable too. So this goes back to the story component, but the predictability and all of the obvious foreshadowing just takes away from it, again leading to a less engaging movie. And I guess finally, and the last dislike, because we're running a bit long here, is that the action, okay, let's face it, the action is geared towards the modern audience, and evidently, as we're seeing with a lot of things, I guess violence and a little more fast-paced suspenseful action are getting crossed more than they need to do. We could go on for a while on this. And while the Nutcracker definitely delivers on that kid-friendly action, it's not that climactic, it's not that suspenseful, and it's very one-sided most of the time. So, don't expect this to be like the most memorable altercation between factions, because it really just doesn't work in terms of those goals. And sometimes it's a bit hard to follow based on the directions they chose to do the camera work. Again, cute, does well, but it's definitely not the most suspenseful telling of the Nutcracker, and at times not the most entertaining as well, because of all the things we talked about. So to wrap this up again, Nutcracker in the Four Realms is definitely the visual display prowess with a musical score, which I didn't say earlier, but a musical score to accompany it. That's both a little updated modern and definitely retaining classical. If you're looking to take your young girl or your young aspiring ballet boy to experience this effect, the theater is going to be a very good choice, because you're going to love them bringing this world to life. And that physical prowess works, and the cute atmosphere will be family friendly across the board. But if you're looking for the complete picture, Disney didn't quite deliver on this one, perhaps focusing more on some of their upcoming projects. Again, not every movie is going to be perfect, but the Nutcracker had a lot more potential, and perhaps a half an hour more and some slowing down, you would have gotten exactly the movie you're hoping for from the trailers. Nevertheless, still worth a trip to the theater if you're looking to just have a fun, very simplistic trip to a ballet, essentially, with some characters that can be a little scary at times, but for the most part should be family friendly. across the board. And yes, do not worry. There is definitely no major cursing, if any, for the little ones to go through, unless you don't want them to say poo, because that's kind of where it is. Anyways, guys, that's kind of my wrap up for it. Overall, pleased with the movie. You heard the scores before. Let me know what you think. Can I help make these any better? What are you guys looking for? And please like and share because I'd really appreciate it. Have a wonderful night, and we'll talk soon. Bye.